first thing is the habit of identifying the right people. Because right from the day one, onboarding a mentor till maybe the day 100th, where you are onboarding an investor, you are onboarding a bank, you are onboarding a new employee, identifying the right people and somehow removing the trash. I don't want to say the wrong people, I call it trash because they are somehow the challenge in your organization. So this is the habit which you have to maintain as an entrepreneur. Who will be that right person who can be onboarded as a mentor? Who is that right resource who can be onboarded as a co-founder? Who can be the right person who will be leading my team? Who can be converted into a leader? Who can be given ESOPs or who can be somehow planned for succession planning? So this constant habit of identifying those right people. And then second thing is building relationships, meaningful relationships with those kind of people. Not only through, giving them more paychecks or something, but some creative ways where you are connecting on an emotional level. These are some of the habits which I would recommend on a culture level. So you start with the imperfect approach, but then keep building excellently. Yeah.
So failing is not that bad.
It is amazing. That's recommended.
Great. Hello and welcome to Starting a Business, a podcast where we dive into what it takes to launch and grow a business in India. This series is designed for aspiring entrepreneurs who are not just looking to set up their business, but are essentially looking for avenues to scale and grow their business over time. Today, we are joined by Dr. Vikrant, who is an author, a business coach, a mentor, and also a first-time entrepreneur. Under his entrepreneurship training program, he's trained across 100 entrepreneurs with evaluating 10,000 plus business ideas over the span of 10 years. He's also has published successfully 2 books which are on entrepreneurship and startups, one of being the Amazon bestseller. In today's episode, we'll be diving into what it takes to take the right steps with the right mindset to set up and launch their business in India. Dr. Vikrant, we welcome you to today's podcast on starting a business, and let's begin with the next set of questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm really excited and looking forward for the same. Thank you.
First being, so in today's time, what does it take to start a business in India with not just get going, but to grow in a way that creates real value and adds the scale viewpoint to setting up a business?
Okay. First of all, thank you for considering me for this. It has really been a pleasure to be a first generation entrepreneur, and being in the India, I have observed working with early stage entrepreneurs and the startup founders who have already reached at certain level. So to answer your first question, this is perfect time not only in India but globally to start up a business, because if you see that according to the Worldometer, world is almost 8.1 billion and India is crossed almost 1.45 billion. Most importantly, we have technology which is able to connect with our customers, with our investors, with people across the globe. Third, the most important thing which I personally believe is that the ecosystem is quite mature, where you have access to the right knowledge, you have access to the right people, and you have access to the right money, the investors. So this is a beautiful time to be an entrepreneur, to start up your own business. So I think this is the best time I have seen in the last 2 decades almost.
So with that thought, there must be so many options out there when somebody wants to set their business or is planning to set up their business. So what should one consider that has long-term potential and is not looking for a quick buck or a quick income sort of a thing? So what would be that business view that someone should set up with a mindset that has a long-term potential?
Okay. So the first thing is, a lot of entrepreneurs commit this mistake that they come up with something which is in their mind. We always recommend that first identify the problem, check what is needed, build something for which customer will pay for. So a lot of time startup founders get attracted to app-based products or some new ideas where they feel that this might solve people's problem. But usually the problem is which is faced by the founder. It may not be faced by the customers or the target group. So a lot of time founders feel that this problem is a large problem. So I recommend that the first thing has to be to check, to do a research, to understand what exactly is needed in the market. And then the need has to be evaluated on the basis of how long term this need may not change. So if you see that there was a time we used to enjoy the Walkmans, and then we shifted to the phones, and then we shifted to different level of, so the market keeps changing because the needs keep changing. So something which is required in the market, which will be validated by the market itself, and which will be required for the long term. Something related to the basics, again, the food, clothing, shelter, it can be directly. So for example, big basket, it is indirectly connected to the food. For example, no brokers, it is indirectly connected to the clothing, shelter. So similarly, if you see Myntra, so these kind of products which are directly, indirectly connected to the basics, that is food, clothing and shelter. This is something which I feel is the recommendation.
Yeah, so despite being diverse options being available, one should always keep these areas in mind when setting up their business as an area.
Yes.
Great. So with that, again, my leading question to that is that now it takes a lot of effort for someone to set up their business. So now it also impacts in terms of what kind of a mindset an entrepreneur needs to have. So if you can also dwell upon the kind of mindset shift does an entrepreneur needs to have, which has the potential to have a very structured and a sustainable business, again, from the viewpoint that it's not a side hustle. So what are your thoughts on that?
So there are two categories of people we usually work with, and we have observed that either there are students who have some innovative ideas, or there are working professionals who are working in any IT company, or they're working with corporates, and now they want to start their own business. They want to become an entrepreneur. Now, both these categories have one challenge. Unfortunately, we lack a right entrepreneurial ecosystem in our education system. So nobody is there who can teach you business, how to do, how to start, how to scale in your school, in your college. And there is no culture, I mean very less culture in the corporate world where there is ecosystem for the entrepreneurs. In both the cases, the biggest challenge is they lack the risk-taking ability. Okay. The game of entrepreneurship, the game of business starts with risk-taking. If you can't take the risk, then it is not advisable to quit your 9 to 5 and then get into this bandwagon, because it is very attractive, it is very inspiring, but then you have to take the risk and you have to keep taking the risks. So whatever entrepreneurs who have reached at certain level, it is because they are doing one thing consistent. They are taking the risks. The risk may be calculated, the risk may be bigger, the risk may be a bit short, but they have to keep taking the risks. So the mindset, the biggest ingredient is that you need to have the risk-taking ability. It should evolve over the period of time when you are in the market, when you somehow validate your product, when you have started implementing, then it has to evolve, because a lot of entrepreneurs, they stop risk-taking. So mindset, the first ingredient which I feel is risk-taking is the thing. Second is they need to have the attitude of warrior, because it's a dynamic game, that there's no certainty. Everything is uncertain, the customers, the market, the resources, the money. So in the process, you need to be ready, you need to be prepared, and you need to accept that this is a challenging game. So apart from risk-taking ability, you should be also prepared for the problems. Some things will happen exactly as per your plan, and some things may not happen as per your plan. So when things are not happening as per your plan, maybe the sales are not happening, maybe the bottom line is not happening, maybe the team is not building as per expectation. At that moment, you have to keep taking the breath, and you have to make sure that you don't get bogged down by the challenges. In fact, you should evolve because of the challenges. So these are the two biggest ingredients, I feel.
So with that thought, something comes to my mind interestingly. So there are many stalwarts in the industry who are really big into entrepreneurship and startup, and they believe that I think everyone is a born entrepreneur. What are your thoughts on that? Is that correct, or does someone has to really go through the rigor and then set up their enterprise, or does everyone is born with the quality of being an entrepreneur?
I don't agree to this statement where everyone is born as an entrepreneur, but yes, some qualities of entrepreneurship, like the risk taking. Right. The moment a child is in this world, he has taken the biggest risk. Okay. To face this world, to live, and probably that is one of the reason when a child is born, he start crying or she start crying, because he or she has accepted that now it's a game. Now I have to face this. So yes, some of the qualities like risk taking, some of the qualities like communication. It's a very important part of entrepreneurship journey. So as a human, we learn communication. So we are not born as an entrepreneur, but somehow if we groom ourselves, if we work on our mindset, if we work on our skill sets, then shifting from any profession to entrepreneurship can be an easy ride. So it is possible. So not born as an entrepreneur, but yes, you can become an entrepreneur in the process.
Over the period.
Yes.
All right. From your experience, what are some early stage mistakes that an entrepreneur does, which sort of limits the future growth of their business?
Okay. So first is building something which nobody wants. A lot of entrepreneurs have great ideas, but unfortunately, the timing is not right. Maybe the market is not ready for those kind of products or those kind of ideas. The first biggest mistake is that they have not checked, they have not validated whether this is the need. So the industry validation is a big mistake, market validation is a second mistake, and the product validation. Secondly, being an entrepreneur, you require a different set of skills altogether. And if you have not somehow imbibed those skills, if you don't belong to a family business background, or if you don't have someone in your ecosystem or in your environment who is guiding you or who is giving you that right skill sets, then you have to work on yourself. You have to onboard some people who can coach you, who can guide you to become a right entrepreneur. Or you can be in the environment where there are already entrepreneurs, there are already founders. So the second mistake is people start their product, they somehow get the idea, but they don't work on themselves, the kind of mindset, the kind of skill sets. Third is a lot of people fail to plan the funds. Most of the businesses, entrepreneurs fail because they fail to plan the funds. So first is the mindset, skill set. Second is they have not validated what product is required. And third is that they don't plan the funds properly. So these are the high level 3 mistakes which one should avoid before starting the business or in the process.
And in your view, these are some of the very common mistakes perhaps most business in their early stage do make. So interesting from that point of view. How should new entrepreneurs think about funding in the early stages? And what's the right balance between managing with what you already have and raising the funds to grow or set up your business?
Okay, that's very exciting question, because a lot of people don't start the business because they feel that they don't have funds. And there are a lot of people who start the business with an assumption or a misconception that they will get the funds from the outside world and they will somehow grow the business. So now both these things are challenging. My recommendation is, first you have to make sure that 6 months to 1.5 years, you need to have a backup. When I say a backup is to how you're going to manage your family or your personal expenses. That will not come from investor. That may not come from a bank. That has to be planned from your end. You should be prepared how you're going to, because a lot of entrepreneurs fail or they have to stop the business because the money doesn't come from the business, maybe in the initial stage, 6 months, 1 year or 2 years. So in that period, they have to survive. So first money, which I call as survival money, they should be planned for it. Either it can be money from your parents or from your in-laws, or maybe you have your own savings or anything. The money, I always say there is no color to money. The money is money. So you need to have a backup for your personal expense. And then you have to plan your business for 6 months, 1 year, because first 1 year, even if you get your customers, even if you get the profits, still you don't have to assume that you will survive on it. So you need to have a backup of that. Now, there are 2 to 3 ways where you can take money from the outside world. One is the angel investor, second is the banks, and third is the government schemes. So now, most important is that initially you may not get immediate access to it. So that's the reason you should not be dependent. You should parallelly start raising the funds. In the process, you may get the fund, but if you are not getting it, then it is okay to have a backup. So that's what I would recommend in the initial stage, that at least for 1 year you should be planned. Business is not going to give money for at least 1 year.
I think with that very key areas that you just mentioned about funding, at what point should an entrepreneur start thinking about formalizing their business through registrations? And specifically for branding and compliance requirements, especially if they want to reach to large scale customers or or partners in whatever kind of businesses that they have. So while you mentioned that one needs to be already prepared in terms of being aware of where the funds will come to set up their business and always have a plan B, but on the same lines, there are a lot of registration and compliance requirements. So how should one prepare for that, and what should be their views in terms of a certain compliance will help me reach bigger customers, increase my revenue, and then obviously in the long run help me scale? So your thoughts
So
on
there
that?
are three stages. One stage is where you are in the ideation stage, where you are just figuring out what to launch, what to sell. That stage, a lot of entrepreneurs get into the legalities, which I personally don't recommend. But then it is better to have a lawyer or someone who can give a legal opinion on it. But the initial stage, you should just check whether the market is needing what you are building. That is not the stage where you should get into the legalities. You should be just aware of what exactly it takes to start a business. Maybe just having a shop act, a simple proprietary firm, or if you are partners, then you can just have a partnership firm. Once that stage is crossed, once you want to sell the product, now that is the time where you can just formalize it, or whether you can have a legal entity of your company. Then looking at your target group. So if your target segment, or if your target group is, let's say, international market, then that is the time where you need to take a second level of opinion, where you can form a private limited, or you can go for a LLP, or those kind of stuffs are required. But once the product is validated, where we also call it POC, if that POC stage is crossed and now you are sure that you have customers, and you have to position yourself at a level where you will be able to attract the high ticket clients, that is the time where you should go for the compliances. Again, you take a second level of opinion from the CAs or CA or the legal people, and then you can go ahead with that. So that's what I would suggest.
Great. So, Dr. Vikrant, even when a business is small, when should founders start thinking about systems and processes? That's one. And then, can being too informal early hurt the potential of your business growth later?
Okay. I think when they start up, that is the right stage where they should start working on the systems. When I work with medium scale companies which have reached at one level, but now they are struggling and juggling to set up the systems, that is the time it is tough, because there is existing system. Now you have to break that old system and you have to bring in new system. So right from day one is the right time, because system, when you say a system in the culture or in the organization, it starts with the people. Then when we say people, it starts with the directors. When we say director, it starts with that first person or the second person, the owner. And if that owner is not in the system, then that culture is somehow, it percolates in the entire organization. So first thing is that the system has to be started from day one itself. While saying this, but yes, in the initial stage of business, there is a lot of dynamics. So there are chances that you may find it challenging to implement any system. So make sure that the systems are getting placed from the day one, but you are also very much flexible and adaptive to may not be happening as per your expectations. So maybe systems are not getting placed because the customers are demanding at a different level. So parallelly, you have to maintain this approach. But day one is the right time to start working on the systems.
Now that you've mentioned and covered a large area, what it takes to plan and set up one's business, from registrations, funding, and also what kind of a structure one needs to have, I want to deep dive into the execution bit about setting up the business. So even if someone is starting solo, how should a founder think about setting up their team? Or should they delegate so that their business goals are better aligned and they achieve the success in the way that they've planned? So if you can share some thoughts on what should be their view on, while executing their team structure and team building processes.
Ideally, we call it solopreneurs, or all those founders who don't have any co-founder or partner. I feel that's a very risky game one should avoid, because you can start lonely, or you can start when you are solo, but to grow, to scale, to reach at one level, you need people, because it's a big game where there might be challenges of bandwidth, there might be challenges of risk, there might be challenges of funds. So to manage this, you need people. So first thing is that getting solo is strictly, I feel it's a crime. You should not get into solo business. Or if you don't have any partner, then maybe you can start solo. But the first step is that you should have a mindset of onboarding people, because a lot of people get into business because they have people issues. In their jobs, they are not comfortable working with the bosses, the colleagues. That's the reason they start up. That is not a right approach, because even if you live those set of people, which people feel it's haunted, still when you have your own employees, when you have your own team, that is again a challenging game. You have to be in people. So first person which we always say is that you have to onboard someone as your mentor, as your guide, someone who is validating your thoughts, to whom you are accountable, because you miss the best person when you get into business. That is your boss. When you are in a job, you might hate the boss, but when you get into business, you start realizing the value of someone who is there to ask you, who's there to guide you, because there's no one above your head. So first thing is you should have a mentor. This mentor, this coach is like a Krishna and Arjuna, where Krishna is not bossing Arjuna, but Arjuna knows that there's someone jahan pe, I can just ask, I can just validate. So first thing is you should have a mentor or a coach. Second thing is you should have a co-founder or a partner with whom you can brainstorm, you can validate, you can divide the work, you can divide the money, everything. And then moving forward, then you can onboard some volunteers, some supporters. In the initial stage, having interns, college students, they also get exposure. You also get good people, good resources where you don't have to spend much on the salaries. So this is the structure in the initial stage which I recommend. But then if you have the funds, the game changes. Then you should not go for interns. You should have good employees. You should have a budget. And then if you somehow reach to that level where you have your revenues, your funds are at a level where you can afford good resources, then that is the time where you have to onboard better people than you, who are better in brain-wise, who are better effort-wise. And then those people can drive the business. So this is how you should, plan the things for the next 1 and 2 years.
Great. So that somehow then validates the common understanding that all of us have, is that probably it's always good to have a right set of team within you, even if you're starting for the first time, because delegation of tasks becomes relevant and therefore it helps scaling. So from that view, I have another question for you. So what are the few habits or ways of working that you've seen successful founders have adapted or adopted in the early stages that have helped them grow later? So maybe you can help us guide on a few examples that you've seen from your set of entrepreneurs that you've trained. So those habitual changes or habitual aspects that have been adapted by some entrepreneurs.
Superb. So because when we are recording this, we are in an era of 2020. And in this era, we have seen post-COVID days, and a lot of people have now started realizing the value of health. So fortunately, in my case, I work with the founders, the directors who are running a company. The revenues are around in CRs. They have a team of 100 to 200 people. So my observation is first, health. Although it's not something which I'm bringing new to the table, but yes, a lot of people, they don't give value to their health and fitness. In today's world, if you are owning a company, you are responsible for the market, you are responsible for the team, you are responsible for bringing a change in the environment. So your job is to make sure that your habits related to your health, it can be anything, it can be workout, it can be dance, Zumba, yoga, a simple food habit, because your body is where you are traveling, you are residing. So your habits related to your health is the first thing. Second is how you maintain your calmness, your mind, because when you are in the business, there are a lot of people, there are stress, there are everything you need to manage. So meditation, affirmation, gratitude, these are the things you need to be parallelly balancing, because if you cannot manage yourself as a CEO, as a director, then how you're going to manage the people, how you're going to manage the funds. So on a habit level, I think I will not stress on early waking and all, although that is a practice I follow, but I understand sometimes your clients are based in US. So you can't wake up early if you have a call at 2 a.m. in the midnight. So what you have to do is at least basic habits which are not, giving a huge risk on your health wise. So health is wealth. That's what I would like to say.
Great. On the same point, if you can also throw some light on habitual aspect, which I totally believe and agree that physical health and also mental health is a key to a successful human being in all aspect of their life, and obviously if someone is setting up their business as well. But specifically as a founder, does tracking data as a method or customer check-ins or whatever the feedback loops or processes, and these are some habitual changes we have noticed and identified amongst our network of entrepreneurs. What are your thoughts on the same viewpoint, apart from being mentally and physically health, about the systems and processes that one needs to be habitual about?
Yes. So apart from the personal habits, which we have covered in the earlier question, I think in this question, I would like to highlight that first thing is the habit of identifying the right people. Because right from the day one, onboarding a mentor till maybe the day 100th, where you are onboarding an investor, you are onboarding a bank, you are onboarding a new employee, identifying the right people and somehow removing the trash. I don't want to say the wrong people, I call it trash, because they are somehow the challenge in your organization. So this is the habit which you have to maintain as an entrepreneur. Who will be that right person who can be onboarded as a mentor? Who is that right resource who can be onboarded as a co-founder? who can be the right person who will be leading my team, who can be converted into a leader, who can be given ESOPs, or who can be somehow planned for succession planning. So this constant habit of identifying those right people. And then second thing is building relationships, meaningful relationships with those kind of people, not only through giving them more paychecks or something, but some creative ways where you are connecting on an emotional level. These are some of the habits which I would recommend on a culture level. In regards to system level, yes, as you have mentioned that constantly working on enhancing your segments. In the stages of your business, you have to keep moving or changing the segments. You have to keep pivoting the product. So you have to also make sure that which can be that right segment, which will make your cash flows more positive, which will make your company more profitable, and which will actually help you to scale the business. So making sure that you have constant R&D going on in terms of shifting the segments. So I think these are the two high-level habits which an entrepreneur should have.
Should cover. Great. Dr. Vikrant, I think we've got some really great insights from you on idea validation, on the kind of team structure and the processes, and also most importantly, the mindset of an entrepreneur when setting up early. Now, the next question that I want to ask is on the sales bit, because that's where the whole rigor is upon generating the revenue. So how should someone go about getting their first few customers or sales, especially without having a big marketing budget? Because that's a constraint that most new entrepreneurs or early entrepreneurs tend to face.
Yeah. So I see one challenge over here. Some entrepreneurs, when they get into business, they have a sales and marketing background. They might be from a family business background, or they have worked in their job on a sales marketing function. Now, compared to these people, there is this other set of people who lack this power. Maybe they have not worked in a sales and marketing function. So those people have this big challenge. Solution for them is they should immediately have a co-founder who is from a sales and marketing background, or they should onboard a marketing consultant who is guiding them on what has to be done, what has not to be done in regards to marketing. Second thing is, this question is again dependent on two aspects. One is, do you have a fund, or you have to start organically with very less funds. So if you have a fund, then it is advisable to outsource your marketing to an agency who are experts. If you are at an initial stage where you are you have lack of funds, then I personally recommend to do everything organic. Trying to set up your sales process where you do it, you become a salesperson. You may fail, you may not get the result, but when you start doing it, then you understand the ground realities. You start working with the customers, you understand the customers more, and then you rebuild the products according to the customer. So having a sales process where the budget may be less, but then you are tasting the market, you are checking the market. So, but as you said, yes, you have to be extremely aggressive in terms of the sales target, in terms of making sure that you are able to sell. May not be the product very good, or you may not be at a very great level, but you have to keep selling. The money should keep flowing. Yeah. So that system has to be set as a sales process.
So selling through a network that you probably an entrepreneur may have established, or the entrepreneur knows. So that's one good starting point. Or a sampling, like you mentioned, a testing way to check whether the product or the service that an entrepreneur is setting out is working or not. Great. So from that point of view, how does a new entrepreneur measure early progress? If profit, because if profit isn't visible as yet, what does it take for an entrepreneur to check if the progress is happening or not?
Okay. So I guess goal setting plays a very key role in this. When you are starting a business, then you need to have a goal. The first goal can be, is my product needed? The validation. Once the validation is done, then the second has to be to have a sales target. That, okay, even if I'm not able to take home some money, but still my business is earning good, and there is a target which I am able to achieve. May not be the 100%, but at least 99%. So if you are able to achieve that target, then I think you are on a right track. And then you need to have a second goal where, apart from the bottom line, that is sales or revenues, now how about the top lines? How about the how about the top line and the bottom line? So now working on the profitability, working on cash flow management. So again, keeping a specific goal where you are able to sell the product, and you need to have a margins. So first having the sales target, then having the profit target. So I think that is the only Because I always say to my mentees that your words may not be that louder, but your numbers, they are creating the chaos. So if you have good numbers, then you are on the right track. So numbers in terms of your sales target, your profit targets.
A lot of time what happens is that when somebody is setting up their business, they already have many examples in their network or in their family who they refer to when setting up a business, and which is why the idea of being perfect at the starting itself gets ingrained upon them. So does it matter that being a perfectionist is a great way to set up a business, or let's just avoid that? Because whenever whoever is starting, mistakes are going to happen, accidents do happen. So how does one toil with the idea of being a perfectionist or not a perfectionist?
Wow, that's an amazing one. Amazon was started as just a book selling company. Today, Amazon is selling almost everything. And there are a lot of such companies which started with some product, some idea, and today they are they're playing a different ball game altogether. So there is nothing perfect in this world, but still there are a lot of people who don't get into the market with this perfection syndrome. So I work with a lot of authors as well. So a lot of them, they have the content, but then they say that, Vikrant, how to write a book, and we don't have a perfect content, and there are a lot of people who want to become a speaker, but they are somehow scared, they can't be that perfect in English. So we always tell them that nothing is perfect, so why we are having this expectation of this word perfect? So recommendation is to start with whatever imperfections you have, but trying to make sure that you are working on the excellence. Perfection doesn't exist, but excellence is always there. Every day, if you are revising your product, if you are revising your system strategies, then you are slowly marching towards perfection. So you start with the imperfect approach, but then keep building excellently. Yeah.
So failing is not that bad.
It is amazing. That's recommended.
Great. Dr. Vikrant, with regards to sales pitch, now there are various segments. One is a product business and there is a service business. But very specifically regards to the service business and to the point of developing or generating a sales pitch, there has been instances where businesses who are into service industry serve to multiple or diverse clients. So what should be their approach or a formula, so to say, to design or develop their sales pitch, which gets them the right kind of clients and also the customers that they want to multiply over the time? And maybe also if you can throw some light on sales pitch for product businesses as well. So what should be the guiding rule or a guiding formula on that?
Okay. Compared to product, unfortunately, service businesses are more into intangible thing. So they don't have a physical product which they can show, which they can somehow, promote in the manner where the products are promoted. So we always say that product business is a volume game where you can sell a lot of units to customers and then you can make your revenue. But service business is a value game. So slowly you have to make sure that you create more value and you work with those clients, less number of clients, but more value you give. So working with few, because service-based business is based on the entrepreneur. It is completely dependent on the time and energy of the service provider. So that is the reason it has the threshold, it has limitation. So that's the reason recommended is that you should have a target group which can pay you more with less effort. So that is the one thing. How I'll be able to reach that segment who have more paying capacity and who value our services more, reaching out to that category. Second thing is, slowly you have to also work on how to productize your service business. Creatively, you can also create some package, some products which are your service, but you are positioning it as a product. So getting into productization of your service, so that somehow you are automating some systems where you don't have to personally or physically be present. So that will again somehow it will increase your portfolio. Third thing is to create the pitch, as you asked. You have to make sure that somehow people perceive it as a product only. It has to be perceived as a package only and not like a direct service. I think these are the three things which I would recommend to somehow get into the value business.
So this brings back to me, I think, a very important concluding question, that what's that one piece of advice that you'd like to give to someone who's ready to start but still overthinking it? Because again, this lines back to our idea of a common belief that if I'm starting, I must be great at it. If I'm launching something, I must know everything beforehand. So that the process of overthinking, I think, hampers a lot of great ideas to come to fruition. So what is that your advice that you'd like to give to a new entrepreneur when they're starting up, to when they're overthinking and not starting it as yet?
Unfortunately, thanks to the technology and thanks to the mobile, that almost all of us are in this overthinking kind of disease. But my recommendation to all those who are in the process of starting up, first thing is give a specific date to everything. If you have 4 or 5 ideas, then give a specific date. Out of these 4 or 5 ideas, on this date, I'm going to eliminate 2 or 3 ideas and I'm going to focus on 1 or 2 ideas. Second thing, then again give a date where you are going to do the validation. Okay, next 10 days, 15 days. On 30th, I'll be done with the validation process. Then again give a date where on this date, I'm going to launch the product. It might be just on an organic basis, sending the product catalog to people on the WhatsApp or maybe that process. But then again a specific date. Then again a specific number, how many people are there who are paying to me. Then again a specific number. So giving specific number, it can be a schedule, a date, or can be a deadline, will help you to stop the overthinking. Because the moment you give specificness to your mind automatically somehow control the overthinking process. But I have started imperfectly. I have reached to 0.1 level. So I'm sure that if a person like me can start up and reach to this level, there are a lot of intelligent people, at least who are listening to this. They can definitely start, and one day they also get into that perfection wala mode.
Great. All right. Now, this brings me to a very interesting segment of our podcast, which is the rapid fire segment.
Okay.
So, let me begin with my first question. Product first or customer first?
Customer.
Formal registration before launching or after proof of concept?
After POC.
One early habit every entrepreneur should have?
Risk.
One thing you wish every aspiring entrepreneur should stop doing right now?
Overthinking.
And being perfectionist with the idea, maybe. If someone has as little as 10,000 rupees to start, what should they prioritize spending it upon?
Lead generation.
Okay, lead generation, interesting. Team of freelancers or solo for the first 6 months?
Solo.
Okay. And then the last question, your one-liner definition of what a successful business is about?
A successful business is where the founder is able to feel that satisfaction of identifying the right problems, solving through his product services, building great teams with a good culture where people are happy working. And last but never the least, he or she is able to find time for himself, for his family. And in the process, he can also give back or contribute to the society. If this balance is maintained, then I think that is a successful business.
That brings us to the end of today's episode on starting a business. I thank you, Dr. Vikrant, for sharing such valuable insights on idea validation, formalization, funding, and most importantly, the mindset preparation that really adds value to someone who's aspiring and planning to set their business. If you are someone who's thinking to start their business early on, remember, it's not just starting the ground off, but it's actually thinking from the point of view of getting the right foundation and also ensuring that your future is built from the entire planning structure that you probably needs to keep in mind when setting up your business. We hope that this conversation has helped you in a way that you think more clearly and helps you plan your next steps. Don't forget to check the episode description to refer to our resources, tools, and checklists which will help you design and start and plan your business early on. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode. Until then, think big, dream bigger.